Okay. So thank you for letting me come observe you today and sit in your classroom. I want to start off talking about what parts of the lesson you feel went well today.
So I thought that they did really well with having to pair up the word with the picture
Mhm.
and reading across the word and putting the blends together and identifying which part of the word was the blend. So doing that independent without my support, they did really well working as groups of students and without adult support. So I thought that went really well.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
I guess y'all had just finished reviewing those blends beforehand before
Mhm.
moving into that assignment.
Yeah, so we
Um,
practiced a little bit with identifying whether it was at the beginning or the end, and they did a little stand up, hands up if it's at the beginning, hands down if it's at the end. So I just said some words verbally, and they identified where it was, and then we talked about we're only looking at beginning blends, so all of our blends are going to be in the beginning of the word for right now. So we had kind of talked about some of that before
Good.
we did that independent activity. And we read the blend chart that was up on the board
Right.
and we played a little I Spy. So they said, I spy the blend, and they would say the blend because I needed them to practice like saying those letters
Hmm.
together.
Right.
And then they would cover it with a chip and everybody had to find it on their board. So they liked playing. They thought it was a game. So, but it
For
was
sure.
really them
Yeah.
just
And you could
practicing.
tell that they had just practiced that and that they had that knowledge before you moved into that activity.
Yeah.
So that was very good. What things make you feel most confident in your classroom?
When they're responding correctly and they're excited to play a game or
Mhm.
do the activity, that's reassuring for me that they're actually engaged and that they're actually comprehending what we're talking about. So when I taught that lesson for 20 minutes ahead of time, and then we went through all the pieces, and then I kind of released them to see if they could do it as a group, and they
Right.
actually did it, but they were excited that they were getting it together.
Mhm.
And then I just did little nonverbal praises, for them to know just that reassurance that, yep, that
Right.
was correct. That was correct. And so they would get excited.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of my girls, I don't know if you heard her, but she said, here, you show Miss Berger this one so that you can get some sparkles.
Oh, I love
It
that.
was so sweet that they like that just, and I didn't say a word. It was just
Uh-huh.
silent.
It
But yeah.
was. Yeah. I think you do a good job of giving a lot of that positive praise or
Mhm.
just that feedback in general to where they kind of know where they are while they're working through. So that was
And they
great
look for that.
for sure. How did your students display what they understood, how they understood that? And you kind of just elaborated on
Yeah, so I had them in two groups and then they had to put the picture and the blend word together. But I told them I don't want one person touching the cards. Everybody
that.
should
Hmm.
be a part of it because I kind of have some that will take the lead. They're just more fluent with the words and
Right.
with reading in general. So they'll be the ones to be like, oh, well, this goes with this or this goes with
Hmm.
this. But I wanted to make sure that that wasn't happening. So I made them all have equal responsibility for it. And then after they sorted the words, then I made them identify the blend and put them underneath the correct blend. So we labeled the blends on the floor and then they had to take the picture and the word.
Wow.
And that was a little bit more of a struggle
Yeah.
than just putting the word and the picture together because they had to just isolate that blend and they were like, so, but
Yeah.
they did it. They were able to do it, but
Right. And I
that took
noted
them
that
a
on
little
there
bit more
that you
time.
kind of allowed for that productive struggle to happen so that they
Mm-hmm.
could figure that out. Um, how engaged do you feel they were in that lesson?
I think that particular lesson, they were very highly engaged and not just meaning that everybody was doing something, but they were actually taking part in the learning. And like you said, that productive struggle where I'm not giving them the support anymore. I want them to figure it out.
Hmm.
And so I would give that silent praise if they got it correct so that they would know, like, yeah, you're on the right track,
Right.
keep going. Um, but just letting them kind of figure it out if well, they knew this word was this, but that's not the picture that goes with
Hmm.
it. So when they were able to decode a word but they didn't have the right picture, they knew that another one was incorrect, so they had to
Right.
figure out which one to switch. So it was neat to watch them kind of do some of that on their own
I thought so too.
without me actually telling them, nope, that one's wrong, nope, switch it, because I could have said switch it and they could have switched it, but they wouldn't have been able to read the word.
Correct.
So when I just let them figure it out, they knew, that that one doesn't match. So what other one doesn't match? Now
Hmm.
we.
Yeah, trying to figure that out.
Hmm.
And then I felt like your girls were a little bit more vocal than your boys, and maybe I
Hmm.
just couldn't hear them because that is a quiet little bunch of boys.
Yeah.
But the girls they were rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah. They
awesome.
did good.
Is there anything in today's lesson that happened that you'd like to carry over or keep building on?
So we feel like, I say we because I'm talking about me and my partner teacher, but we did an assessment today to kind of see how their knowledge of blends joined with their encoding in general, like being able to spell. So we've worked on CBC words already. We've worked on digraphs, so now we put blends, but they have to still like read and write across the word. So today we had them build the words with blends, so we know they can read it. We feel like they're getting that piece of it, but we had them putting the words together with the different components, and they don't have that yet. So I feel like they can identify it and they know what the blend is at the beginning, but when they go to encode it and write that component, or even just put the sounds together, building the word, they can't get that part yet. So that's still, and in the continuum that comes later anyways, but they're not ready yet to actually build or write the word. Because they can hear the sounds, the two sounds for the blend, and they can identify it and they can read it on the word card. But whenever I give them the word and I say, okay, now what's the blend? They really struggle with just pulling it out of not having an anchor chart or not having something to refer to, just producing it independent. So out of the 8 that I had, I only had 2 that mastered that component today.
Gotcha.
So that would definitely be something that we're going to have to, we went ahead and like dropped that for a grade, like we're not going to use it. So we're going to go back and see what would assess better their reading versus to kind of identify, like, can they read it? Yes or no. And then can they encode it? Yes or no. 2 different components.
Yeah. 2 different skills.
So yeah, kind of see, either they mastered both or they have one or the other. So we're going to reassess that and reteach more of the writing component, the spelling component of it next week when we come back.
Good. I love it. So I just noted that your students were cooperatively working together with their groups, sorting those pictured words and the pictures and the words, that you were doing a great job monitoring and allowing for them to have that productive struggle and working through solving those problems on their own, like you said. Your students, you can tell your classroom management is great. They knew what the expectations were. You still gave clear directions and they followed. And so you can tell that you just have a really smoothly ran classroom. And I appreciate that. So I'm going to let you look over that.
Okay.
And then you can sign for me if you agree with everything. You're here? Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. And I'll sign it too, and I'll get you a copy of that. And just thanks again for letting me come visit today. I always enjoy being in there. I feel like I'm learning with you too every time I see stuff that you're doing. So keep it up.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, ma'am.
All right.